Hello and welcome back to Simmer Down Simmerly. My name's Haley. Today we're going to be talking about cloth wipes. My husband and I decided to try out cloth wipes a few weeks after my son was born. We were a little bit intimidated by them, I'm not going to lie. We were already a little scared of the cloth diapers, and the thought of adding cloth wipes just seemed like a really big undertaking. But we ended up really loving them and actually wish that we did it sooner. So next time we have a baby, we will definitely be using cloth wipes right away. There's a lot of benefits to the cloth wipes. For one, if you're using non-toxic organic ingredients, it's really good for your baby's skin. It actually helps prevent diaper rashes and just keep the skin integrity intact. Another thing is they are really effective. So really I only use about one wipe for a urination, and maybe two if he has a bowel movement. If it's a major blowout, we sometimes have to use 3, but really 1 to 2 wipes is our max. So we don't go through them as frequently, and they do a really good job cleaning up. Another good thing about them is they're good for the environment. Obviously they're reusable, and one of the reasons we use it is it's really good on a budget because they are reusable. You really only have to pay for the ingredients you use in this solution, and you're only using a little bit, and it really goes a long way. So we have not had to spend much money on wipes at all. When we were using disposable wipes the first few weeks of our son's life, it felt like blowing through money. We were using so many wipes because they're so thin. And we were constantly having to go to the store to buy more. So we were really glad when we made the switch because it helped us save a lot of money. So some of the things that you're going to need, obviously the first thing is wipes. I use Esembly's wipes. That's also the cloth diapers that I use. So we went ahead and bought their wipes. You can make your own wipes if you're crafty. I am not, unfortunately. I'd love to be, and at some point I will try to learn, and maybe I'll come on here and teach you how to do it. But if you do your own cloth wipes, I would say use like an old cotton sheet, and then probably make the squares about the size of your hand. You don't want them to be too big, and you don't want them to be too small. So you just really want a good square. If you're a quilter, I would say probably about a square that you would use in quilting. So really love Esembly's cotton wipes. They use organic cotton too. That was part of the reason why we went with them. If you make your own as well, make sure that you sew the edges so that the fabric doesn't become unraveled. But these work really well, and we absolutely love them. There's a couple ways you can fold your wipes. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. Another thing you will need is a wipe warmer. I really love this one I found on Amazon. This one is called Chef Handy, and I'll put the link where you can get all these supplies in the description. This one's super nice. The reason I went with it is because you could pour water into this little basin here, and it's all waterproofed in here, so I didn't have to worry about it leaking out or damaging the system. I also like the sleek design. As you can kind of tell from the background here, I like to keep things minimalistic, I guess, and so I really liked the design of this one. Very easy to use. It has 2 touchscreen buttons here. It has the on and off, and then the heat setting. There's 3 heat settings to choose from. Really love this. It works really well. So you will need a wipe warmer. Another thing you're going to need is coconut oil. I prefer to use organic virgin coconut oil, and also cold pressed and unrefined. So you want to get a coconut oil that has not been super processed. So this is just a random one that we've got from the store. I don't have a preferred brand that I use. Just any organic unrefined coconut oil should work just fine. Okay, you'll also need Dr. Bronner's Castile soap. I made the mistake of buying the lavender one. I love lavender, and you'll probably hear me talk about lavender a lot, especially when I talk about the products that I use. I, however, found out there's a little bit of controversy around lavender. I don't know enough about it to really go into great detail. I know it has something to do with estrogen, and since I have a little boy, I just didn't want to potentially expose him to more estrogen than what his body needs. Another thing to keep in mind is essential oils are really strong and highly concentrated. So you really want to be careful how much essential oils that you use around your baby, and also make sure that they're safe for babies. Not all of them are. Okay. The next thing you're going to need is some distilled water. Any type of distilled water will work just fine. And then also a teaspoon. I just use my small spoons, what I call them. You've got the big spoon and the small spoon. I like the small spoon. I tried the big spoon, it doesn't work as well, and I'll explain why. So with that being said, those are the ingredients that you'll need, and I'll put a link to all of this online. So step one is to get a clean stack of wipes. There's a bunch of different ways you can fold them. I prefer to fold them as individual sheets. So I just fold them in half and set them on top of each other. So I kind of showed you there what I do. Fold half, set on top of each other. Pretty self-explanatory, and that's why we've got this big stack. If you decide to go with a different wipe warmer, one that's more, I obviously don't have one, but more similar to pulling out like disposable wipes where you've got a top and then they just kind of keep coming, I've got a really good helpful fold for you. With this particular heating unit, it doesn't work as well, because when you go to pull one, since there's not that little plastic piece to kind of stop you from pulling too many wipes, they just keep coming. So for me, individual sheets folded worked best. But if you have one of those holders where you can pull and it'll kind of pull up the next one for you, this is a really good way of folding them. I am going to show you how you can fold them. So first thing you want to do is get a wipe, set it flat. Then you're going to get your second wipe and you're going to set it so that half of it is in the middle, I guess, of the first wipe. So again, you have that wipe and you just set it so that the edge of the second wipe is kind of along the middle of the first wipe. Then what you're going to do is take your first wipe, so the wipe that's on the bottom here, and you're going to fold it over and fold it in half on top of your second wipe. Okay? Then you're going to get your third wipe, and you're going to do the kind of like the similar thing you did when you were placing wipe 2 over wipe 1. You're going to put your wipe on top, kind of in the middle again. So you see, I'm going to go right about here, and I'm going to set my next wipe right there in the middle. And that's the fold. This is where your wipes are going to be. So you're working, but this is going to stack up in the middle. So you're putting it in the middle here. Then you're going to take your wipe. So we just set the new one down here on top. The one below, the sheet on the side, you're going to fold over to the side and just continue that on. So go ahead, and I'm going to show you a couple more. Take it, fold it over. Take another wipe, middle, fold it over, wipe, middle, fold it over. And then when you get to your last wipe, I'm not going to do the whole thing because I don't use this method with my warmer, but when you get to your last wipe, you're just going to fold over the top to make yourself a nice stack. So what happens is when you go to pull your wipes out, they keep them all kind of connected. It's kind of hard to show you without them being wet because they don't stick together very well when they're dry, obviously, but you can kind of see they just all pull out into one. It's hard to show you when they're not wet, but give it a try. They work really well, especially if you decide to go with a different type of warmer. Okay, I'm just going to put these back in order because we are going to make wipes, since my son does not have any more wipes and I don't want to use disposables. I had to use them for part of today and I did not like it. Okay, so we've got our stack of wipes. All right, my wipe warmer, what I'm going to do is we're going to start with the coconut oil and the Castile soap. So I don't have perfect measurements. My husband really wanted it to be a perfect measurement, and I told him, since I'm going to be the one doing it, he's just going to have to follow my lead and let me do it the way I want to do it. So I apologize. This is not perfect measurements. I do these in a hurry, and I just do it super quick, so I don't really measure it out precise. So what I do is I take 3 heaping scoops of coconut oil, and I put it inside my wipe warmer. And again, we're using the small spoon. You've got 2 different spoon sizes at home. You want to use the small spoon. Okay. The nice thing is if you get it on your hands, you just rub it in. It's a good moisturizer, which I kind of talked about in my last video. Okay. So we've got the coconut oil in. You're going to do 3 heaping scoops with a small spoon. Then you're going to come in with your Castile soap. And this one's a little bit more measured, but I put 2 little spoonfuls, or I believe this is a teaspoon of Castile soap. So you're going to do 2 teaspoons. With this too, this is what I like and the ratios I like. Definitely play with it. I have found if you use too much of this, it's too soapy. So that's why I only use 2. I do a lot of coconut oil and only 2 of these. I have dry skin, my husband has dry skin, so I'm just assuming that my baby has dry skin, so I like to use more coconut oil. So all of this you're gonna have to test out yourself, so don't be discouraged if the first time it's not good. It took me a couple times before we got it to what I liked. So when you scoop it in your little thing, it's gonna kind of look like that. My little unit isn't plugged in right now because I don't have a wall outlet right here. But what I do is I flatten out the coconut oil and I really rub it around all in there. It helps it to melt faster because what you're gonna do is you're gonna turn on your unit, and I usually set it to 3, or the 3 little squiggly heat lines. Just to get this all to melt really well. And then I just leave it usually for a couple minutes. I already had this plugged in before I started the video, so it's already kind of melting quite nicely. But you just really squish it in there, and really, I like to rub it around, get it on the walls, and it'll dissolve really quick. Usually what I do, if I'm being honest with you, if I'm out of wipes, I'll quickly throw in my ingredients, smash it around, and then I go throw my spoon in the dishwasher, fold my wipes, and by the time I get back, it's ready for the distilled water. So I'm just kind of mixing it around here. Mine might look a little bit different because I didn't let it melt all the way. It'll turn into a clear liquid, so it'll look more like this when you're done. Right now mine looks kind of like a foam, which I'm not going to show it because that's not what yours is going to look like. It's going to melt. So you'll want to let it melt for a couple minutes. Then what you're going to do is you're going to pour some water in. I would say I pour in, well, let's just find out. Let me get a measuring cup and I can actually tell you how much we're going to use. 1 second, please. Okay. I have my trusty sidekick with me. You'll hear my dog Claire every once in a while trotting around. We're going to use a measuring cup to see how much I actually use. There's a little line, but there's no way you're going to be able to see it on this camera, that I fill it up to. And if you buy one of these, you might actually see what I'm talking about. But just so we can kind of give you a better idea at home at how much I use. Yeah, I use about 2.5 to 3 cups of water, distilled water. And you want to use distilled water because your wipes are going to be sitting in it, so you don't want any of the junk that's in our tap water. Okay, so you're just going to make sure it's all mixed up really good. Like I said, if yours was already melted, you really wouldn't even have to mix this because when you pour your water in, it's going to mix it all up for you. I'm just making sure that I mix mine up as best as possible because I am going to be using these with my son. Okay, so now we have our liquid inside the little basin here. This is how I put my wipes in. It took me a few tries to figure out the best way to do it. I was taking half the stack and putting it in a little bit here, a little bit there. It was just taking forever. So I found an easy way of doing it. So I just take my wipes vertically. I dip them in, kind of shake it around to get them saturated on that bottom, and I flip it over. And then I pinch and kind of get the liquid to go down on the other side. Now I'm going to put the dry tip in here. Same thing, gonna mix it around real good. Flip it over so that the solution gets towards the middle. And that's got both of my sides. Then I take my wipes and I set them inside the basin. Don't just shove them in there, the water will fly out like it just did right now. But I do stick them in there. And then something I didn't, and I apologize, I didn't count how many wipes I put in here. You want a pretty good size stack. I'm trying to think about how many I have here. I think we probably have about 20 plus. I'll count them and I'll post how many wipes I have at the end. I only bought 3 packs of wipes, and I probably go through like one on Esembly. I bought 3 packs on Esembly, and I really only go through about 1 a day. So usually it's about 2 of the Esembly packs. I think they're packs of 14. So yeah, so there's probably about 20 to 30 wipes in here. And again, you're gonna have to play with it to see what you like. But that, sticking it in there like that, it kind of goes to the top. And mine looks a little bit weird because, like I said, I didn't turn mine on to melt it all the way. But once it's all done here, and your hands will get all nice and oily, I'm just wiping some of this coconut oil off the sides. Once we're done though, your wipes will absorb all of that liquid. And like I said, when you do it the first couple times, you're gonna use too much liquid, you're not gonna use enough. Really just play with it. It's not a perfect science. If you try to go with the perfect measurements, I think it'll make you crazy. So just, try it out, and then eventually it's gonna be like second nature to do. So, but that's what mine look like in there. And that's how I make my wipes. One thing I will say, do not keep the heat setting on 3. I turn it down to 1. That keeps the wipes nice and warm. I had it on 3. And I didn't have enough water in it. It was like a perfect storm. It looked like it was starting to burn the wipe. It didn't actually burn it. It just made the soap really dry and hard onto the wipe itself. So just make sure you turn your heat down to about 1. You don't need it to be scorching hot anyway for their little sensitive butts. So just 1 is usually good for keeping it nice and warm for when you go to use it on your baby. And the end product, and I'll just show you here, is one moist towelette. So, and they work really well. I use them on my hands too. Sometimes after a big blowout, or if I'm in public and I don't have access to wash my hands, I really like to use them. They work really well. But that is how you make your reusable cloth wipes. If you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. Please leave me any comments if you have any questions. And also please subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more about this. I'm very new to this. I'm only using my iPhone, so you'll have to forgive me for the poor quality, but hopefully I'll get better as time goes on. But thank you so much for joining me here. Don't forget to simmer down, and we'll see you next time.